Confession Court Episode. Title: I Fell for Potential. Welcome to Confession Court, where your standards stand trial, your truth takes the stand, and your excuses get sentenced. Tonight's case? The people versus potential. We're talking about that dangerous thing so many of us fall for. Not who someone is, but who we hoped they'd become. All right, let's lay out the evidence, because tonight, we're not just telling stories, we're calling witnesses from our own pasts. Let's start with Exhibit A, the fantasy contract. That's the unspoken agreement you drafted in your head, the one that said, if I love them enough, they'll change. No paperwork, no promise, just pressure. Pressure you created, and they never signed. You ever notice that? You're the only one showing up to a relationship that never actually started. You're showing up early to a future they never even planned to attend. Here's the truth. You didn't fall for them. You fell for your idea of them. You fell for the version that existed in your imagination. You fell in love with a vision, not a person. And that's the heartbreak of potential. It'll make you believe you're building something when all you're really doing is daydreaming in a demolition zone. I once dated somebody who had all the right words. They talked about goals, healing, therapy, growth, all of it. But when it came time to do the work, crickets. And I remember telling myself, they just need time. But time doesn't heal what effort won't touch. Potential doesn't grow. People do. Love is not a construction site for unfinished souls. You can't build a person from blueprints of hope. Now let's move to Exhibit B, the emotional IOU. That's when you keep giving. Your time, your energy, your patience, your peace, all on credit. You tell yourself, if I keep showing up, one day they'll see my worth. But here's the thing. You can't cash what they don't carry. You can't collect consistency from confusion. You can't expect emotional wealth from someone who's bankrupt in accountability. Some of y'all out here are spiritual lenders. You've given out emotional loans with zero interest return. And then you wonder why your heart's in debt. It's not your job to convince anyone to value you. The right people recognize your worth. The wrong ones only withdraw from it. You can't keep financing someone's potential with your peace. And now, Exhibit C, the Savior Complex. This one, right here. It's where your empathy turns into employment. You start managing their mood like it's your mission. You start coaching them, fixing them, praying for them harder than they pray for themselves. You call it helping. But it's really hoping. Hoping they'll become who you thought they were. Hoping your love will be the thing that finally makes them rise. But here's the hard truth. You can't rescue someone who's comfortable drowning. They don't need a lifeguard. They need a decision. Because love without boundaries becomes bondage. And healing someone who refuses accountability is just another form of self-betrayal. I used to think being loyal meant staying. But sometimes loyalty is letting go, so they can meet their own consequences, so you can meet your own peace. Falling for potential is just another way of saying, I saw their future clearer than they did. And that's not love. That's labor. It's emotional employment with no paycheck, no promotion, no peace. So tonight, as we continue this trial, ask yourself, what version of them are you still holding hostage in your imagination? What fantasy contract needs to be shredded? What IOU needs to be canceled? What savior role needs to be retired? You can love someone and still admit they're not ready. You can see potential and still choose proof. Because at the end of the day, potential doesn't pay interest, and peace is too expensive to lose on another bad investment. All right, family, take a sip. Let your soul breathe for a second. Because this right here, this is the intermission where accountability walks in wearing your reflection. We've examined them long enough. Now it's time to question the witness on the inside, the version of you that stayed when you already knew better. Let's be honest. What part of you needed to believe potential was safer than truth? Was it fear of starting over? Was it loneliness dressed as loyalty? Or was it ego, thinking you could be the one to finish what someone else refused to start? Because sometimes, the hardest truth isn't about who they were, it's about who you became trying to love them. Let's do this together. Think of one word, just one, that describes what made you stay. Was it fear, hope, comfort, attachment, familiarity? You were never crazy. You were just committed to a story that stopped being true. Now, here's your self-inventory. Take this next sip and answer these out loud or in your notes. Who were you really trying to prove yourself to? Sometimes we're not chasing their validation. We're chasing our parents, our pasts, our pains. What did you keep calling love that was actually a lesson? Was it control? Chaos? Chemistry that felt like connection but was really confusion? And what would you gain, not lose, if you finally stopped explaining your worth to the unready? Potential always sounds like promise, but love isn't a pre-order. You deserve delivery, not delay. You deserve consistency, not potential energy. You deserve effort that shows up, not excuses that sound deep. So take this moment. Stretch your heart. Loosen that grip you've had on the version of them that only lived in your imagination. Because recess isn't just a break. It's a reset. It's the pause before power, the stillness before clarity. And when we come back from this break, we're calling you to the stand. Court resumes in 5. Sip slow, reflect deep, and remember, accountability isn't punishment. It's permission.